So,
I
good morning.
lost track of time.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Rick. Yeah, Rick got here really early. He put up these messages that says, "Good morning. Yeah, I'm going to get the gold star today. You snooze, you lose." And then he says, about Dave, "You're sleeping in again."
No, I'm not sleeping in. Uh, I'm getting up and doing stuff and I'm forgetting the time. The Yeah, so that's what I tend to do.
Yeah. Okay. This
I
fatal
got into something there and I was sort of absorbed with it.
Yeah, this fatal collision on the Peace Bridge. They didn't really wasn't much news about this one. 11:41 on Monday night. There was a fatal collision on the Peace Bridge, and don't quite know how, but somebody sped through sped through the booths and crashed into, the inspection booths and crashed into the toll booth, and the car ended up down the QEW as this guy was ejected from it. All right.
Well,
Don't know what happened. Whether
this
he had
this happened.
yeah,
This happened on the U.S. side on the Rainbow Bridge. Remember,
yeah,
a year or two ago, a guy in that case it was a Bentley sped up really fast and he blasted right into the it was either the customs booth or the toll booth. What's
yeah.
going on here? Is these guys just having heart attacks or something?
That's what obviously. You don't normally expect, this is an American from Hamburg, New York. You don't expect them to necessarily be a terrorist, but often terrorism is one of the early questions that got to be asked. But also you got to ask a question: did he have a heart attack or something?
Well, it's very unlikely that it would be a terrorist.
Yeah,
You know,
I
an
think so.
ordinary everyday guy from Hamburg or New York. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, and he rams into the toll booth and kills himself.
yeah.
He got
I,
ejected from his car, which tells you that he probably wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
yeah.
So here's a guy that rams into the booth. He gets thrown out of his car. If he's getting thrown out of his car, he's likely not wearing a seatbelt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so that I guess will remain a mystery. But as long as our staff are safe there, the people that collected the tolls and the immigration officers, as long as they're protected, okay. So I think this is a good thing to happen in a way where nobody else got hurt. This may be a way in which way that they might be able to look at the safety of their officers there and make sure that I'm pretty sure they've probably already considered that, but anytime an incident like this has happened, they should review their security to make sure that their officers and toll booth collectors are safe.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's happened twice in recent memory. It happened with that Bentley on the U.S. side, and it's happened here on our side. And it seems both incidents seems to be inexplicable. So we'll find out.
Yeah.
Perhaps what happened, but maybe we won't.
Well, I believe that the one on the was a heart attack. I believe the one on the American side of the Peace Bridge of the Rainbow Bridge.
You think that? I know they never, as far as I know, never drew any kind of conclusion. I will segue here for a little bit, Gary.
No, we don't believe it's a terrorist, Mike. Just to say, and Rick says basically it's Carney's fault. More terrorists coming.
Well, I'm thinking it's Trump's fault, but yeah, it could be one or the other. Obviously, anything in the world that's gone bad is either Carney's fault or Trump's fault. Let's make that very clear.
Yeah, well, that's so for Mr. Pizza Carla, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, sometimes there's a combination effect. Sometimes they out try to upset the world together, and they kind of get in this combination thing going on. So you can't really tell. Is it 80% Trump's fault, 20% Carney's fault, or is it the other way around?
Yeah. I mean, the whole world is one of their faults, right? So right now,
Yeah, I
everything
mean,
we use in the world is their fault.
yeah, they're having this discussion in Lesotho this very day about this. I'm very sure around the dinner table.
Hmm.
Lesotho, South Africa, Malawi for sure. Is it Trump or is it Carney? They're having that same discussion.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting here. I'm on the page with this in Niagara this week, and there's an advert in here by Tony Baldinelli. Your voice in Ottawa. Need help with a federal program, Citizenship Immigration Service Canada, Canada Pension Plan, Disability Pension Plan, Canada Revenue Agency, Veterans Affairs, Employment Insurance. Go speak to him.
Tony Baldinelli, the counselor.
Yeah, no, RMP.
Oh, okay.
The
He's not.
trustworthy,
Okay. He's
the
not making money off
trustworthy
it. He's just sorting
Baldinelli.
it out for you. He's
Yeah,
not
he's
making
just.
money off it.
Oh no,
He's
no.
not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking I should go and contact him, and because him and Angela need to get together, because she deals with a lot of that kind of stuff as well. Anyway, yeah. So he gives his Fort Erie number and his Niagara Falls number. Right there, you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
All right.
anyone with all those, well,
Any of those?
I recently had a problem for a friend of mine had issues with his cancer treatment and transportation there. I went to the MPP. I called Wayne Gates's office, and they were on it really quick, and they solved the problem that my friend had for weeks, and they solved it within days. So there you go. Your MPP can really help out. In this case, it was Wayne Gates's office, but those other factors that you mentioned were federal.
Yeah, you got to look at the right level, because if the issue, Tony Baldinelli there was talking about issues that are Canada wide, i.e., Canada Pension Plan, Canada Revenue Agency, but not provincial issues.
Yeah.
And you got to know the right issue.
Well, just sort it out. But your MP or MPP can help you out. Don't try to navigate this on your own. And as I said before, a friend of mine had real difficulty there.
Yeah.
He was in a wheelchair. He's having a hard time getting transportation to cancer treatments. They're extremely costly, and he wasn't getting any answers. So I phoned, well, he was busy doing all that stuff. I phoned the MPP for him, Wayne Gates's office, and they were on it, and they solved it. Mm-hmm. Just like that. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, he's on the phone hour after hour trying to get people. You know how you are. You get put on hold and that and everything. So there you go. Use your MPP or MP if you need be.
Yeah,
I'm important. Don't know it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Niagarans face health risks after the storms, and so all of these floods, the basements, etc., even if you don't go down there, even if you manage to not lose anything from the storms, basically the deluge of rain that hit is left us cleaning up a mess, and you've got you've got mosquito breeding grounds potentially. You've got all manner of stuff within the sewage, and regardless of what it is, it increases the increased risk of mold, electrocution, and that sort of thing.
Yes. So this is a public health service basically coming out and telling us that your going to be in trouble if you don't do this correctly. If your insurance company cannot come out and bring out give you equipment or send you professionals to get the water out of your house and all that or your property, be very, very careful, because standing water can start becoming places of disease or illness.
Yeah.
Stagnant water. So you got to get rid of that stagnant water if you can, as quickly as you can. And then when you do slosh around in that water, trying to figure out what to do, you are at risk of electrocution, obviously. Our own mayor, actually, I saw on TikTok, our own mayor showed a video of his place being flooded. I don't know where he lives, but his place was flooded.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Diodati, and he had shop vacs and everything else, and just couldn't keep up. If you're lucky, you may have had a sump pump or something like that. But the problem here is it's a safety issue, and they're even talking about getting hazmat suits and masks and things like that, and rubber boots to make sure that you protect yourself against the stagnant water if you're sloshing around in it.
Yeah.
And one of the things, of course, is obvious that standing water like that provides a place for mosquitoes to breed. Once you start breeding mosquitoes and things like that, you're asking for transmissible diseases too. So be careful. Anyway, that's the advice that the health department is putting out there.
And that's obvious, really, because anywhere you've got standing water where it shouldn't be, typically basements and that sort of thing, you start to get rotting paperwork. You'll start to get rotting, other things. Electrical equipment will likely go off, as have problems as well. And the other thing, of course, is actually things like insurance must be giving people a nightmare.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of insurance. Of course, the insurance is probably geared up. This is a major event, once in a generation thing happening here. So they're probably all geared up. They're going to take a hit this time. That means your rates are going to go up. But there's also mold. Do not forget about mold, because if you do not, your basement's all wet and everything like that, and if it's not dried properly, you're going to start getting mold, and mold can affect your health negatively.
Yeah.
So get your dehumidifiers, or rent them, or whatever you do. Dry out your basements completely if you can. Get those dehumidifiers going, because even those areas, when you start using your basement again, there's water that's soaked into here and there and everywhere, and you don't want that to sort of go away, start growing like molds.
Well, when we had a basement flood 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, here, caused by the city when they rebuilt the roads, and it was a nightmare, and we lost a lot of stuff because of it, because it was about a year or two after we'd moved in, and they started doing the new roads. They updated the roads. Ours was one of the first in the area done, and then they ran something over our drain outlet, the drain breather, and and when they ran over the truck over that drain breather, it caused a flood in the basement.
Yeah, because Mike points out that sewage is coming up as a huge issue too.
Yeah,
that's also because of the volume of water in there. It'll back up your sewage into your house. So that's especially the older areas. And your old house, did it have a wet basement in it?
No, we didn't have a wet basement. We had a dry basement. But what happened is that because of the backflow from that, pipe that had been pushed down, which it shouldn't have been pushed down.
You need a venting.
Yeah,
if you don't have venting,
Yeah. And anyway, so when it got all repaired, we've now got a sump pump and non-return valve.
Yeah, that's the best way to go.
Yeah. So,
but anyway,
we got it
yeah,
up.
I knew what you're talking about. I was just wondering, a house of your age may have still had the wet basements. A lot of homes around here. My first home had a wet basement.
I've seen a few houses that had wet basements. When we were looking to buy a house in this area, there was some wet basement houses in Thorold. There was a couple in St. Catharines that had wet basements, but not our house. It has seeping. What do you call it? Weeping tiles underneath.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, like my first house had a wet basement.
Yeah.
And anytime it rained, it drained through the basement. There's little troughs all around the outside of, and that's what it was supposed to do. That was what it was designed to do. A little later on, when the house wanted to expand into the basement, we had the outside of it waterproofed, and then we could use our basement and not have to worry about water coming into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here in this condo, the water from the roof, most of it goes right into the sewers. We have two catch basements, out there. We've actually got dedicated pipes about 3 feet down that go directly into the catch basements.
The place at work, they basically told me that they've got, I don't know whether they were ordering it anyway, but they're redoing the entire roof because of they've had some flooding issues on the office roof. But they got all the materials yesterday, so I suspect they were doing it anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Yeah, just beware of the with all the insurance and that sort of thing, that if you have to use insurance, but of course we all know that for all of us, and it's going to happen for me as well, even though I've got no basement issue, the cost of insurance is going to go up.
Well, it may not. It was a once in a lifetime thing, but I don't know. But let's hope not. That's all I can say. And anyway, I'd just like to point out that Gary iWilkins News sent me a video about the contamination in Niagara Falls, New York, the radiation contamination. It's just one more thing in a long line. I don't know what kind of, Niagara Falls, New York was very, very well known for the corruption of the town, and now all that stuff probably was just dumped there with a nudge, nudge, wink, wink, give me a handful of cash kind of thing. And anyway, we can get into that at a later time, but it's a terrible story there. They not only Love Canal, but they had the Manhattan Project stuff dumped here and there around town. Yeah, you got to think to yourself, who didn't know that if you dump radioactive material here and you don't tell anybody, they might build a house on it?
Yeah. Mike is saying that some of the things that we've got here is taking away trees, farmland, and wetland is part of the issue here. We built too many homes in places they should not be in.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. But what happens here is you have they build add on to their infrastructure. So they go into a farm field or they go into a floodplain that is easy to access because of the position of their existing infrastructure. Now, I've said before, well, why don't we build on the Willoughby clay belt where you can't grow good crops or anything like that, but you'd have to leapfrog a whole way over there because your access to your infrastructure, your sewers and all that is too far away. And we've seen in around Stanley Avenue there, where the developer is actually developing an area that's far enough away from the existing infrastructure that they're going to pay half of the bill for sewers and water lines to go out there,
Yeah.
rather than it be automatically. And that's because it's so far away from the existing the infrastructure. That's the problem with an expanding city. It will go where it's next logically should, according to its infrastructure, sewers, water, whatever. But when you want to direct the building to areas like we are an overbounded city, Niagara Falls, we're a huge city. We've got lots of rural areas, lots of country areas, but there's lots of land here that's not good for agriculture. There's lots of land here that we could use. We don't have to impose any environmental risk or marginal environmental risk, but it is too far away from the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the deciding factor. We'll eat up another hunk of farmland over here because it's close to the sewers and everything. And it says like Thorold. So
in other words, Rick is saying the same issue is existing with Thorold.
Yeah. I think if we can get over that and sort of eat the cost of expanding an infrastructure to a point far enough away, I mean that's an initial cost. But if you can design an area in which you're going to, let's say, have residential areas that don't interfere with farmland or other environmental, your best place to put it that won't interfere with farms or is a marginal farmland or even marginally consequential environmentally, you can design that and plan that way and eat the initial cost of sending out the infrastructure there for those developments. That takes foresight, though, and politicians usually don't have that.
Yeah. Well, and that actually is a big problem because, in fact, actually, it's a lot easier to build. It's a lot easier to build one street extra, one street extra, one street extra, than it is to go skip for 5 miles and build out in one of those areas you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes an initial investment, which people aren't inclined to do. Guess what? Well, we're going to put $30 million into a pipeline that goes out to this area here because we're going to do a residential area over here. And everybody says, well, why are you going all that way?
Yeah. You know? Yeah, exactly. The trouble is, and again, what you'll end up doing again will be, even with that, even though you put it into a clay zone or a rock zone or something like that, you still end up building one street over, one street over, one street over from there until you cloud it all in anyway, right?
Well, my point was you find areas in the city, like I said, we're an overbounded city. Yeah. And we got areas that are not good for farmland. I mean, not just one little acre. I'm talking about a huge section of land, right? That's not good for agriculture and it's marginal farmland. So it wouldn't be used for agriculture. And it is marginally environmentally consequential. So you don't have creeks or things like that have rare salamanders in them or something like that, or at least you can protect them.
Yeah.
You know, so that takes a lot of planning. You got to say, okay, how can we develop our city and be most cognizant of the environment and most cognizant of the valuable limited farmland that Ontario has. Now, if you drive around Southern Ontario thinking, well, we got boundless farmland, but we've been eating it up in our cities and all that. So it is very relevant. I mean, you could go around, we got tons of farmland and all that. No, we don't really. We're running out of it. And we have to make huge efforts into protecting it. Who's going to feed us if we have major problems in the world? We see that we can't, like a lot of countries in the world can't get oil, grain, aluminum, and all that because of the dumb wars, the Ukrainian war and the Iran war, dumb wars, and yet they're still going on, and it's affecting people's bottom lines all over the world. We are only affected mostly by the oil, but and our farmers by the fertilizers and stuff like that. But there may be conflicts in the future where Canada might have to really rely on itself to feed itself.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Ships stranded in the Gulf can pose a potentially a great invasive species threat. This is a
Yeah,
story we didn't get to yesterday.
yeah, this is one of the stories that I posted. I thought was pretty interesting. When you have a lot of people from all over the world, and they have ballasts, and if they have things in their ballast, they come from different places in the world. Once you start, like, these ships are all locked up and being stuffed inside or on the edge of the Persian Gulf for months at a time now, 5 months, right? Now, not only are the crews going stir crazy, but there are things in their ballast and everything like that that may cause a spread of invasive species, just like the spread of invasive species happened here in the Great Lakes, where ships cleaned out their ballast and they put in zebra mussels into our water systems. Of course, they didn't plan on doing that, but that's just what happened when they flushed out their ballast. Well, this is going to go on here in the Persian Gulf, and sooner or later, those ships, well, maybe later, not sooner, those ships are going to move out of the Persian Gulf once this is settled. Doesn't seem to be anywhere close to the horizon, but we'll find out. And once those ships start to move, they're going to be spreading things around all over the place that they got in the Persian Gulf. So I don't know. It was just an interesting thing how one 4 to 6 week supposed war then grew into a multiple of different problems. So we had the war. They bombed the crap out of Iran. They killed a whole lot of people. But then one consequence after another. We're going to get pollution because of bombed out oil fields and oil reserve areas. We're going to that's a problem. We're going to have consequences due to water desalination and people getting sick. We're going to have consequences of fertilizer and aluminum and all manner of other stuff aside from oil getting out of there. So it's going to have ramifications that way. And it's even going to have this invasive species problem. Yeah. This all from one supposed tiny little war that was supposed to last 4 to 6 weeks. It's still not a big war as wars go, but look at the consequences of it. Well, maybe tonight. Yeah, maybe the end of the war tonight. I don't know.
Iran ran out of time 1 a.m. this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go again. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so they're going to, I think the U.S. said that they're going to obliterate Iran again, knock it down into the Stone Age, wipe out all its infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. Another threat. I was reminded the other day that the United States has declared victory 8 times now. They have absolute victory 8 times. Iran's Navy's gone. Their air defense system's gone. Their Air Force is gone. They completely lost the war, incredibly lost the war. They just don't know it, and they won't admit it, and that's why they're closing off the Straits of Hormuz, because they don't understand that they lost the war. And they got to make a deal. And Iran says, well, we haven't lost yet, and we don't want to talk to you.
Well, and then of course they're talking about Iran losing the war, and then we get this piece of news that an Indian flag ship sinks after an attack in the Red Sea, but that's actually the Red Sea, not the Straits of Hormuz.
Well, that's all become part of it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because Saudi Arabia is trying to get its oil out through the Red Sea rather than the Persian Gulf. And it looked into this matter before, and we talked about that. They have a pipeline that goes from the east part of the country that produces most of the oil to ports on the Red Sea. So if there's problems in the Persian Gulf, they can still get their oil to market. But the Houthis, who are a Shia offshoot, they and are aligned with the Shias in Iran against the Sunni regimes of Saudi Arabia and the Sunni regimes that Saudi Arabia, endorses in Yemen, are fighting like crazy and shooting and keeping those straits, the Red Sea Strait there, from closing up. And they're shooting, and they sank an Indian ship. This is expanding. Now, if India starts sending warships there, can you imagine what's going to happen?
Yeah.
India starts sending warships. What about China if they start sending warships to protect their stuff? This is getting out of hand because it wasn't well planned.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't a disaster. 13 Indian sailors had to be rescued, right? They were at risk and they could have died. So they had to be rescued as their ship sunk. Other sailors have died in the Persian Gulf. You're having the ordinary, everyday guy getting killed because this war is such a foolish thing. They got to end it. The big orange bag, windbag, can say, "Hey, I won." He's already said he's won 8 times. So have him say he's won the 9th time and take his ships out of there so we can stop this blasted war.
Yeah. The point being is that I know this is Yemen. This is Yemeni waters that we're talking about, and it's at a place called Hodeidah. And these attacks was 13 nautical miles south of Hodeidah, right? Which, well, it is, again, it's another one of those a strait, and I forget the name of this strait.
It's Bab el Mandeb.
Bab el Mandeb. Thank you. Because it's a name that isn't running through my mind on a regular basis.
Well, Straits of Hormuz. How many people knew about the Straits of Hormuz? I did, because I'm kind of a nerd that way. I like to know places on the earth. But we saw this flurry of activity. Where is the Straits of Hormuz? And everybody explaining the Straits of Hormuz, all that. And I am fully aware of them because I've been watching the news for a while. Yeah. But Bab el Mandeb, I'd completely forgotten that was what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it won't. If it keeps going on, it will be locked in my memory, as it will be probably to a lot of others.
Yeah, and I knew that both of those straits existed because I know the geography of the area. I used to be a geography nut, so I used to go looking at all the maps around the areas.
Yeah, I still do.
But again, looking at the map around the area is a lot different than actually knowing that there's a constraint or a problem there, right?
Yeah, so the Houthis are controlling that. Sadly, they felt it necessary to hit a Indian ship. This will expand the problem, of course. I don't know why they hit the Indian ship. Possibly because the Indian ship, and it did say in the article, possibly because the Indian ship had been doing business with Israel. Possibly. I don't see why they would have hit it otherwise, unless India is helping Israel, because they do have pretty positive relations between Israel and India, as I know. So that may be a reason too. But the fact of the matter is, this was an ill-conceived war. The very idea that you can completely and utterly obliterate a country's nuclear weapons ambitions in July of last year, and then start a war at the end of February this year because you decided you didn't really obliterate it. So what you're saying was, yeah, we completely obliterated it, but they started it again. Well, how can you start something that you just already obliterated?
Yeah.
Like you can run away really quickly and get some centrifuges and get them
No.
going again. Those things are extremely expensive, extremely awkward extremely hard to hide. It was just a big lie, basically. Oh, they got this 440 pounds of refined uranium at 60%, and they obliterate it and say that it's so deep in the mountain that only two countries in the world could dig it out: the United States and China, the only countries with the technology to be able to dig that stuff up. But then, but in the same breath says, oh, they're going to make a bomb with a nuclear component on to come all the way to the United States and blow us up. We have to save the Americans. And this 47-year-old war, nobody ever talked about a 47-year-old war before, have they?
You
know, all of a sudden there's a 47-year-old war.
Yeah. And
this president's going to conclude. Yeah, he's not going to do anything.
Yeah. And all we've done is we've ended up with gas prices rising. I actually
probably 6,000 or 7,000 dead in Iran. Wasn't that good?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if they're soldiers, but most of the time it's civilians, isn't it? So isn't that really wonderful? So you've got 20 Americans killed, 400 injured in attacks, and you've killed thousands of Iranians for what?
Yeah. Well, actually, Ricky was talking about the gas price coming down 12 cents this week. It came down about 6 cents yesterday.
I think somebody's making a lot of money yo-yoing the price of oil and gas. Yeah. I think a lot of people are getting
That's what this is about. That's what this is largely about.
So somebody's making a lot of money.
Every time he talks about, attacking now it's the time to sell oil. When he steps the gas off of the war, now it's the time to buy oil. And you may only make 10 or 20 cents a barrel, but it's a 10 or 20 cents a barrel speculation that you've got. Again, the game with this president, he did that with the tariffs. On, off, right? It was that all last year, and his buddies were making billions.
Well, that's part of the speculation. This war will continue until he can't make any more money off of it.
Yeah.
By yo-yoing the prices.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, everybody thinks, oh boy, we're only paying $1.50. We should be here in Ontario paying $1.25
or less.
Yeah. There's lots of capacity. There's lots of capacity of oil out there.
Yeah.
But they're reducing the capacity, and the Canadian oil industry is making huge right now. Right, they're exporting their 3.9 million a day to the United States and making top dollar doing it. And the U.S. is taking their oil that they export, which is the sweet crude they get out of fracking. They export that, and they're making huge off of it. Somebody's making a lot of money, man.
Yeah. All right.
Not to mention the defense contractors are just salivating how much money they're making. And going to be making, they're going to be making money year after year because the stockpiles of weapons have to be replenished. They're happy as hell. I mean, what a good war this was. Get rid of as much weapons as you can, so that our buddies in the Congress and the Senate, who knew ahead of time which contractors to invest in, including the windbags, sons and relatives. I mean, it's so corrupt. It's so corrupt. I mean, it's half the time when Biden started to let the war happen in Ukraine, I thought half of the issue was to make sure that there was weapons manufacturing going on overtime so his buddies in the Congress could get more money. It's just so drippingly
Yeah.
corrupt.
Yeah. And the whole, anyway, yeah, let's not over egg that. All right, moving on. Burkina Faso dictator and religious extremism there.
Yeah, I put this one in because it's worth it for us to be very aware of what's going on in the world. And I find myself to be pretty ignorant about what's going on in the world, but I'm like twice as smart as most people I know. And I don't mean that to brag or anything. Not smart, but more aware, twice as aware, just because I've done a little bit of traveling and I keep an eye on what's going on around the world. Now that didn't happen just because I was better than anyone. I was just happened to have done some travel and piqued an interest in what happens around the world. Here in Burkina Faso is a landlocked Western African nation. It used to be called Upper Volga
Yeah.
or Upper Volta because it's up on the Volga River, but it's now called Burkina Faso. Now this is a country that is racked with Islamic extremism. Now the country is about 2/3 Muslim. It's about 1/4 Christian, and the rest is other religions. So now the leader of that country has decided to get rid of the French, got them out of there, and get rid of the Russians, and now is turning his attention onto Islamic extremism. And he feels that he is coming down on the biggest he himself is a Muslim, but he's coming down on the biggest mosques there, and he's calling them out for sending students outside of his country to get educated in the in the religious schools, the Muslim religious schools in other countries, and come back radicalized.
Yeah.
And
he's talking about this is destabilizing the power of Burkina Faso.
Yes, and he's right. And he's right. When I was in Ghana, I was talking to one of the miners in one of the Pegasus mines there that I happened to be in, and he told me that like he lives in Burkina Faso. That's where his official residence was to beat taxes in Canada while he's working in Ghana. Well, in the city of Ouagadougou, they have nice restaurants and stuff. And every Friday, he and a bunch of other Canadians couples would go to a certain restaurant across the street from one of the main hotels. It was a very nice restaurant. Well, him and his wife were sick at this particular one Friday, and they didn't go. And that was the day that the terrorists hit the main hotel in town and wiped out that restaurant and killed 6 people just in the restaurant and killed a bunch more in the hotel. So just by the skin of his teeth, he missed being a target of terrorists. Yeah. Now, this particular leader, Ibrahim Traore, I got to get his name right. I'm trying to find out how best to pronounce his name. Oops, I got the wrong thing here. If I can find it, it goes back a day or two here. German quits. Yeah, Traore. I'm not sure how you spell his name, but or pronounce it, but it's Traore. And
Traore, yeah. I think.
Yeah, and he's a captain. He's Captain Ibrahim Traore. He's the one that did the coup, I believe. That's why keeping the name captain and not, in the Muslim world for a while, being a colonel was a distinct honor because of Colonel Nasser taking over Egypt. So anyway, so he was once upon a time backed by the Muslim scholars. He's now turned on them, and I hope he doesn't get assassinated, but he has confronted the Muslim scholars, declaring that he calls traditional radical Islam has no place in the country, and warned the battle has just begun against, and he accuses promoting religious extremism. So he is saying, he himself being a Muslim, saying extremist Muslim Islam is not good for the country. It is holding them back. And if they don't change, the battle has just begun, he says. He's closed down the biggest mosque in the area. So, and we hear about Islamic extremism, but we seriously don't understand Islamic extremism affects Islam, the Islamic countries, more than anyone. 80%, 88%, I think was the last figure I saw, of Islamic extremism and terrorist attacks happen within Muslim countries against other Muslims.
Yeah.
So we see the Islamic extremism, what happened to Charlie Hebdo in Paris, and what happened when the 125 people got killed in France, and the bombing of the Belgian airport, and all these things look very terrible. The Madrid bombings, the London bombings, and all that, they are terrible. 9/11, extremely bad. But that looks bad, and it is bad, but you can multiply it by 10 or 11 or 12 in the Islamic countries, because this happens all the time.
Well, he's talking about...
It happens all the time in Muslim countries, and we don't hear about it because, you have to go to the back pages of the newspapers to read about it.
Yeah, he's talking about recalling students from who are studying Islamic law in Arab countries.
These would be the madrasas, I'm sure.
Sure, yeah.
So I put that in there because it's good to be very aware of what's going on in the world. And we can see here in a nation that's 2/3 Muslim, that and the leader himself happens to be a Muslim person, that the Islamic extremism is hurting the countries terribly, and they're trying to fight against them. What we tend to overhear to think, oh, they're all like that. We don't realize, look, Saudi Arabia attacked us with the 9/11 guys. Well, not really. It was a handful of people from Saudi Arabia, that did the 9/11 things.
Yeah.
When they talked about the SS Cole and the bombings that happened in Lebanon against the American troops there, I think the one against the SS Cole was not a Shia Muslim stuff. So they blame it on Iran, but it wasn't Iran that did it. I don't know. That's how I see it. And it's very, very good for us to realize where this thing is coming from, where this Islamic extremism is hurting people the most, is hurting Muslim countries more than anyone, way by far. We find that Sufi Muslims in Pakistan, so we don't even hear about it, but the Sufis are kind of a spiritual Muslim group. They're more kind of like the hippies among the Muslims. They're the artists, they're the musicians, they're the traveling singers and so on. They get blown up to bits because they're not thought to be Muslim enough. And Shia Muslims are getting blown up to bits by Sunni extremists. And I think we should be aware of that, because we think it's all them against us. It's not.
Yeah.
Those people are suffering over there because of this extremist thing going on.
Yeah. Muslims are getting elected in the USA, Rick.
Yeah, that's Abdul El-Sayed. He won the Democratic primary to become a senator. Was become a senator in was it Minnesota?
Yeah.
Minnesota or Michigan? Michigan, maybe.
Don't know. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay.
That's a big deal. That is a big deal, because not only is he a Muslim, but he was born here, of course. He was born in the United States. I think it was Michigan, but he's taken out a Democrat.
New York City, but still.
Yeah. He's taken out a traditional Democrat that took a lot of money from the Israeli lobby. The Israeli lobby, using their name, the United Democratic Program, whatever it is, the UDP, they dumped enormous amounts of money in there to defeat al-Sayed, but he still won. And that he's a progressive, what you might call the evil communist, because he is a social democrat. He wanting.
Dr. Abdul al-Sayed won Michigan's Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate.
Yes, and the reason why that's important is because he won the Democratic primary over a woman that already has had it and won elections already as that. But she was in the pocket of Israel lobby, and that's one of the things that defeated her. The fact that, regardless of the fact that she had way more money than Saeed did, but I think it was Sayed's message. If I get this right, I get the message that he wants the money to stay in Michigan. He doesn't want it to go overseas. He wants the money to stay in Michigan. He wants universal health care. He wants more inexpensive housing. And of course, all of these things that we see from the Northern European countries like Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden. He's looking for stuff like that. He is. It's remarkable that in a country that has a lot of Islamophobia, you can get, I mean, a huge amount of Islamophobia, you can get a Muslim to win. You know, so hats off to the Michiganders to have an open mind.
Okay, moving on. Canadian aluminum is getting aluminium is getting is having problems with certain parts of the market, not all of the market, and basically extruders that process this type of a business saying that their businesses are dying amid surging prices, US tariffs and dumping from overseas.
Well, it seems that we talk about the aluminum wars between Canada and the U.S. The very fact of the matter is that raw aluminum that's coming from Quebec, and it's not because we have bauxite. We don't have the ore. We have to import that. But what we do have, particularly in Quebec, is cheap electrical power that can refine aluminum and make it into ingots, and they can sell it. The problem is the United States put a 50% tariff on that right now, which means that the U.S. market is buying less of it. And the reason why they're buying less of it is because it's so expensive for them to buy it. And they have now, they only have minimal capacity to fill that void. So it's making it very difficult for the U.S. Manufacturers to continue. So there are extruders and so on. Now, raw aluminum in the ingot form is still being sold, and Canada has diversified its market. Now we'll swing back into the extruders and what China is doing. China, of course, is not only producing aluminum, but producing the next stage in aluminum production, the extruded or refined materials, and that's coming into Canada and killing us because we don't have tariffs on Chinese stuff.
Yeah. Because that's the problem for the Canadian market is the extruded aluminium. The prices are soaring on that, but the Canadian smelters are not in that business.
No, but we do have extruders, and we had extruded aluminum, and we sold it to the United States, and but China's killing us even in our own domestic market. So we have aluminum extruders. We can get the aluminum. We get extruders, of course, is dies in which the aluminum is forced through into shapes. It's a very cool process if you ever known extrusion techniques, but they use it for plastic, steel, and everything else. Extruding, it goes through a die basically. So you may need strips of aluminum that are good for for the casings of windows or whatever else. You can do it through extrusions, whatever.
And the whole point is you can make like those wavy roofs, etc. You can make those kind of things out of this as well, can't you? Or sheet metal, basically.
No, it's not extruded. The sheet metal is not extruded. Extruded is a form. Okay, so think of anyway, I won't go into it for very long. There's a die. Let's say there's a die and there's a shape of aluminum that's good for the casings in and around a window, right?
Yeah.
So you take the billet and you shove it through a die under extreme pressure. It extrudes through the die into the shape you need.
Yes.
Sometimes you could do it with steel, you could do aluminum, other metals. You do it with plastic. Plastic is extruded that way. Sometimes it's done hot, sometimes it's done cold, whatever. But it's usually done under aluminum would be done under extreme pressure, hydraulic pressure, a billet being forced into a die, and that. So anyway, aside from all that, that next level of aluminum processing is under a threat from China. And we're not selling a lot of that extra manufacturing stuff to the United States because of the high tariffs. And but on the plus side, we are selling more and more aluminum to Europe. We're selling more and more all over Europe and stuff. So we've made up a lot of the market. The problem is the United States needs that stuff, but they have to spend so much on it. They're in a real dilemma now, as the U.S. is using that as leverage against Canada and other nations. And it was supposed to boost the aluminum production in the United States. It has, but not very much. And the United States will need lots of aluminum from outside the country for a very long time. But in the meantime, as they are using that as a leverage, their own industries are suffering. It's just a kind of a dumb plan, really.
Yeah.
Dumb is the major word here. Donald Trump, I think, is the guy's name who started it all.
All right. Okay, so I think we've kind of come to the end of the program there. So we kind of have run out of time.
Yes, and I will mention Gaza again. I will always mention Gaza because it's a genocide that's happened. 72,000 people killed. They're still being killed, by the way. They come to a conclusion. The United States is finally the board of peace thing. I don't know whatever happened there. They're supposed to get this peace thing going. Hamas has agreed to disarm itself, but it wants something back in return. It wants Israel to leave the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip said Israel says no, we're not leaving, but you gotta disarm, but we're not going to go. And Hamas says, yeah, we'll disarm, but you got to go. I mean, what are we getting out of this? I mean, and idiot, Netanyahu drives me crazy. So someone asked him, well, what are we going to do with all those? Why are all those people concentrated in no place to live, meaning houses and stuff like that? And he says, because the Arab nations won't take them. That's stupid. That's their home. Gaza's their home. Right? You can't have it, Bibi. You can't have it. You can't have the West Bank either. What are you going to do with all those people? You keep shoving them into smaller and smaller areas. What are you going to do with them?
Yeah.
Right? There are Palestinians. Most of Jordan is made up of Palestinians. There's Palestinian refugees in Lebanon. There's Palestinian refugees in Syria. There's Palestinian refugees in Egypt. There's Palestinian refugees in Libya when I was there. They're all over the place. Where are you going to put them?
You can't. Yeah.
They've already been. There are Palestinian refugees in Canada and the United States.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put them?
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because they got to have their own country. How about that? They're supposed to have their own country, so let them have their own country.
Yeah. Because whatever you do, if you move them out, you're creating a future problem because they'll be looking for a homeland themselves.
They keep insisting on making it unbearable to live there, make sure they don't have proper medical, food, electrical. the Israeli settlers dump all their garbage in Palestinian areas instead of taking them other places. They go to the bathroom, they urinate in Palestinian areas. They're just gross. The IDF does this as well. They think if they keep doing that, they'll make it so unbearable to live that they'll go somewhere. But where are they going to go? And they don't want to go anyway. They've been growing olives there for 2,000 years. So you're going to get rid of them?
Yeah.
Right? Why? Why would you want? And what about the Christian communities? Like the Christian Armenian churches. There's a video of the Armenian churches being attacked and spit upon in Jerusalem. So they want the Christians out too. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu. And let's hope for some kind of peace. What does Chris? With U.S. running out of water, start looking ahead to where we can go. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, everyone.